All right, I'm going to try to explain the problem here. I think is with all Farmalls that have the side-to-side wheel rocking action and the final drive roaring problem. Seems like it's all of them has almost. Well, the problem lies in here. You set your bearing, you get your seal on there, you set your bearing down on here. You set your axle spacer on here. You set that down on there, and guess what? This doesn't touch the race. Okay. So you need to tighten. The other bearing goes here, up here. All right. And your bull gear is on here. Then you have a washer, but your washer bottoms out on this and not on the outside of the bull gear. But that's not the problem. The problem is here. I don't know if over time this wears down. I don't know what causes this. I mean, it's lasted 70 years, so I'm sure it took at least 20 or 25 for this to happen. I'm sure the first 20 or 25 years of his life, he didn't have this problem, but fast forward another 40 years, it has this problem. But this is that rocking action that you get out of them. You shake them, and it rocks side to side. All right. What is going on? You got slop. Your axle is sliding in and out because your bearing races aren't tightening together. I don't have the bull gear out. I'm not gonna set it out. Your bull gear sets on here. Then you have a washer that sets on here, a thin washer, then the bearing, then a thicker washer, and then that lock nut. Then with a cup washer with the bolt. All right. Like I said, this is the problem with this one. You can't tighten it up. So what I'm doing, we're gonna test this out. And this is gonna make a lot of your roaring in the rear, because when that thing is flopping like that, your gear ain't riding straight. And that's gonna have a lot of your roaring going on. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set the specs in. This is 2.17. I'm gonna get a 2 1/4 shim made, a couple of them, by 2 3/4 wide cross here, and we're gonna set that on shims on top of this bearing, so this spacer will lock onto this bearing now. See, this bearing, it's done spun around in there so long, spinning on the axle, not being locked together, it's done beveled the inside of the bearing. All right, and this is beveled and mushroomed out too. So in other words, this has gotten shorter over the years. Is this the original one? I don't know. It almost looks like a piece of steel pipe someone put in it, because there's no part number, no nothing on it. It's no nothing on this. Someone definitely been in it, because one of the washers that goes against the bull gear was laying in the bottom of the pan. So it's definitely been in for, and there's some else little tip of the day here. If you pull these bolts out and you pull that nut off the inside while all this is still attached to the tractor, and you pull that bolt off the end and you don't reach in there, what'll happen is it's a washer behind here. That's the thin shim. You look at the parts breakdown, that's supposed to be in it. When I took my pan off, the inside washer, it's a thin washer that goes on the inside here. Then it's a thicker one that goes here. Both of them washers was laying in the pan down here. For how long, I don't know how long. I thought that was the problem, and I put them in there correctly. But what happened is, if all this is on the tractor, the pan's still on there. Say if you're gonna change this seal, if you change this leaking axle seal or this leaking gasket without pulling in the part, and you pull the axle out, just rip it out without looking under here, that washer gonna fall down in the pan if you're not careful when you pull that axle out. You try to fish that bearing out, but pulling that axle out, that shim, that inside one would definitely fall down in there if you're not careful. But what I'm doing, I'm gonna get a spacer. I'm gonna get some shims made for this to go on top of here, so we can tighten these bearings up, race to race, and that should take a lot. See, when this thing's sliding back and forward, it can cock. Which the bull, this one was fairly quiet. This one was fairly quiet, but that's that side to side rock you see all of them get. As older ones, old people, they'll grab them and shake them. But when you're shaking them, you're pulling that axle in and out when you're shaking them, and that's what's the problem is this here gets wore down. And you're going to have to shim it up. I doubt you'd be able to buy this. This really, it's really no other way to do it. Because you go a bigger size pipe, then it's going to be flopping around on, it's not going to fit your axle. So that's a nice stud fit on the axle. We're going to try this. We're going to try this. And y'all stay tuned. Y'all stay tuned on this. And we're going to try that shim and see if that takes the axle slop out. If the other side is like that, we're going to get that side straight too. But that's your side to side rocking now that the old folks be talking about, shaking them all the time. Because I said, if I had the bad bearings or anything, I said, whatever this rocking, when I pulled on that axle, as soon as I got the tire off and I pulled on the axle, got the tire off and I pulled on the axle, and I think it's a clunk, 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 clunk. I said, yep, I got a bad bearing. That's not a bad bearing. It's just that bushing wore down. You probably won't be able to, I doubt you'll be able to buy that part. But anyway, guess you're rocking the side to side play is rocking in and out on the axle because you're not tightening up race to race on your bull gear. And your bull gear is just sliding back and forth. You ain't got it locked together tight. Well, we're gonna get it all locked down, and we're gonna see what happens anyway. Doing a full restoration job on this almost. It's gonna be 80%. When I say 80%, it's because I'm not touching nothing on the engine. The engine runs flawless. It don't have no leaks on it. It's got a little oil pan leak. I'm just gonna put a gasket on it. Oil pressure, needle stays buried on it, cold or hot. I'm not touching the engine. Not touching it. I only took this loose because this seal down here was pouring oil out of it here. And the seal, it was still the original leather. Still had the original leather one in there, so it was well due. But one of my problems was my wheel pan bolt hose was egg-shaped. I'm going to replace that. And anyway, that's where we're at. Thanks for watching.